Friends, this is a time to wake up. To wake up our neighbors, to wake up our cities, to wake up our culture, to remind all of us that children are a blessing. Children are weapons. Children are the bedrock of our society. Children are the creators of our societies for tomorrow. Okay, how will our world look in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, if we base it on how we're parenting the children who are in our care right now? What are we teaching them? What are their values? What is their world view? What is their moral state? What is their physical state? How is their physical health, their mental health, their emotional health? We've heard a lot about emotional intelligence and grit. Well, right now, this disruption, this critical juncture called coronavirus, what an ideal test to see if we are raising strong trees that stand in the storms, or marshmallows that melt in the fire. Friends, what are we raising? What are we preparing to run our societies tomorrow? What will we have to produce to be our mayors, our governors, our senators, our president, our judges, our fill in the blank? What do we have to present to God to run our world? It's up to us parents. Wow. Two things in society are important. 1, 2. Who gets to teach the children, and what do they get to teach them? I think you're hearing my heart. So as we look at our children, what is the most important thing? Okay, what's the most important thing? If you polled 1,000 parents, okay, 100,000 parents, I think what they would say is love. Why love, Denise? Love covers all. Love is all. Love is everything, right? Well, I want you to think about that for a minute. Because when I open the door to any kid's bedroom these days, most any kid in America, oh, the love comes pouring out in the form of trinkets and more and more dopamine hits. You know what dopamine is? That dopamine center of the brain that feels pleasure, that experiences happiness and pleasure when it gets something that fills the senses. That's called the dopamine center of the brain. And so what I see moms doing so many times, instead of dealing with the character of the child, instead of dealing with an emotional connection to the child, they just hand out dopamine hits. It's quicker, it's easier, makes everybody happy. It's a great bargain chip. So we get on Amazon and we order something else. Order a new toy, order a new game, order a new... Oh, we stopped for a Frappuccino because Junior got an A on his test. Oh, wow. Junior lived through the mercury filling in his tooth. Oh, wow. Junior was good. Oh, wow. He deserves a reward for being good, right? Right? Because all of life, he's going to be rewarded every time he does the right thing. Is that right? See what I'm saying? We got a problem in America, and it's a parenting problem. Now, well-meaning parents, they see all of the things, the iPads and the laptops and the apps and the Apple Watches and fill in the blank, the $200 tennis shoes and the $200 jeans and the makeovers and the plastic surgery and the sushi meals and the $1,000 birthday parties. Friends, they see that as love. They see that as good parenting. But actually, it's a replacement for parenting so many times. I want to give my kids everything. I say to my boys, I want to give you the world. I wish I could give you the moon. And you know what they say to me, Mama? You already did. You already did. Now, these were kids raised in middle to lower income status, okay? These were kids that were home educated. These were kids who spent days and days and days and days and years together in the same home. These were kids who, didn't get all the fancy bells and whistles, But they say, Mama, you gave me everything, because that's what the homeschooling culture does for your children. It gives them everything. It equips them for life. I may not have been able to give them the dopamine hits that I would have loved to have given them. And I still can't give them everything I would love to give them today. But according to them and their testimony, my husband and I gave them everything, what they needed. And so be encouraged. Home education is far more than academics. It's a lifestyle. It's a culture. It is an elite boarding school. That's exactly how I saw it. Okay, think about that for a minute. We have a school at the end of our street. Oh, it is it's upper echelon. Okay, it is. If you say your kid goes to this school, well, you're pretty special, because it is a gazillion-dollar school and it's a boarding school. Friends, that's what the world thinks. But so many things that the world embraces and loves is an abomination to the Lord. Okay, I'm not saying that school is an abomination to the Lord. I'm saying that the things we put value in so many times for our children, for our lives, are nothing that God wants for our kids. I had a truly elite boarding school where I woke up before the kids, according to Proverbs 31, and I got my portion for the day, and the portion for my children, and the portion for my family, and the portion for my home from God. And then I began I got to be in charge of their peer relationships. I got to be in charge of their entertainment. I got to be in charge of what they were reading or not reading, what they were watching or not watching. I got to say, no girls will call our house. I got to implement my values in my elite boarding school. I got to cook with my boys. I got to decide what their diet was going to be. I got to nurture them and mentor them in natural health remedies. I got to open their eyes to a godly worldview. I got to open their eyes to the truth about big pharma. I got to open their eyes to a life of freedom. What I'm saying is an elite boarding school. I got to lock up the back door and the front door and open it when I wanted to. I was the bulldog on the front porch, guarding them from unsavory influences as much as I possibly could. That is priceless. That is precious. That's worth fighting for. Okay, so the most important thing, no, is not love. The most important thing, I would say, is very different. Okay, and I'm going to read you a scripture right now from back to Exodus. During these trying times, and I mean, it's so cool that we can read in the Word when there was a crisis, a global crisis or a pandemic or a serious problem, right? And we can learn from that. And we can gain insight and perspective and strength and empowerment and revelation and prophetic insight. And so as I was reading in Exodus and reading about this terrible period of time when Pharaoh decided God's people were increasing too rapidly, and so he had to implement great measures in the form of infanticide. Okay, so his plan A, remember, was, okay, what we'll do is we'll have the midwives kill the babies when they're born right away, just quick. Infanticide, kind of like they do up in New York, okay, with Cuomo's decree. Well, that didn't work because the midwives were godly women. They weren't about to kill the babies. So he upped it, okay? He upped the ante, and he said, okay then, as soon as they're born, every boy, and you get that is born, you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. Same decree today. Different face, same decree. Kill every boy, suppress the men, make the men out to be the bad guy, oppress the men, let the girls live. Isn't that what we see? It's always lift for the girls. It's always, yes, shoot them to the stars. It's always, break the glass ceiling. Do you ever hear anybody exhort the young men? Do you ever hear anybody want to take care of the young men? Okay, but that's another teaching for another time. But what it says at that time, in Exodus, Acts 7, verse 20, at that time, Moses was born. and he was no ordinary child. For 3 months, he was cared for in his father's house. Okay, let's just talk about that for a minute. One version says, when his parents looked upon him, they saw that he was no ordinary child. Now, let's just talk about this for a minute. Amram and Jochebed, his parents, okay, they find themselves pregnant at the absolute worst time in history to be pregnant. Talk about a crisis. You think you're in a crisis right now, that all your children get to be in your home? And I know money is so tight, and I know that sinking feeling of indebtedness, and we're losing everything, and oh my God in heaven, right? Put that aside for just a minute, because this is very, very temporary. The enemy wants you to think it's permanent. It's not. Okay, but think about this. This crisis has placed, through good leadership, your children in your home with you. This was a wicked leader, an evil leader. They knew, and they didn't have sonograms back then, if this was a boy, they were going to throw him in the Nile, where he would be consumed, destroyed, drowned, okay? Amram and Jochebed didn't run around freaking out. They were God's people. They trusted God, and what did they do? They hid this secret. They were quiet and careful. And when this baby was born, it said they saw. They saw. This was a miracle. Now, everybody else would have said, oh, that's just another little baby, little brown-skinned Hebrew baby in Egypt. Just one more. They're all the same. No. This is where revelation comes in. It was revealed to them. They found God in the most trying time of their entire lives, the scariest, most anxiety-ridden. Their heads were probably in a vice grip if they were leaning on the natural man. They were in trouble because they were pregnant. Nope, they decided they were not going to freak out. She was not going to blame him. He was not going to blame her. They were in this together, and God had a plan. And when they saw little Moses born, they saw that he was no ordinary child. And it said, for 3 months he was cared for in his father's house, because this is a principle that God spoke so clearly to me as a young mom. Hide those kids. Hide those kids. Hide those kids for a season, because they got the revelation of the value, the potential, the dynamic DNA, the inestimable, mind-blowing potential of that itty-bitty little baby. Friends, hear my heart, hear my cry. Look at your children with new eyes full of faith and see the potential. I am passionate about this stuff, yes, because I believe it. Because I've lived it, and I know it, and it works, and it's true, and it's mind-boggling, it's world-changing, and it's earth-shattering, because our children were born to be world changers, people of impact. That's not hype. I'm not talking hyperbole. This is reality, if you will get the revelation. A revelation opens our eyes to see something we've never seen before, to make us do something we've never done before. See, if all kids are created equal and everybody's the same, and it doesn't really matter, and, que sera, whatever will be, will be. We just turn the kids over. We just let somebody else deal with them. But when our eyes are opened, and it also means the veil that was over our eyes is removed, and we see, that's revelation. That's revelation. That's revelation. The problem with most parents, they don't even realize this. They're well-meaning. They love. They believe that everything they're doing is out of love. They're trying their best. I know that they are. I have friends like this. But at the bottom of it all, they are thinking too small about the destiny of their child. That's the problem. That's why they're auctioning them off to the highest bidder. That's why we have no problem dumping them. That's why we drop the problem at the door, because we've lost the revelation. A revelation in your heart will bring a revolution to your life. That's what it did for me. I never wanted kids. They were going to block my career goals. They were going to block my fun. I have friends who, at the same time they got their boob jobs, they got their tubes tied. That's how stupid we've become in this nation and the nations of the earth. I have friends who have done one and done. It's all they can cope with. I have friends who have decided to remain childless forever because they don't have the revelation. They're blinded to the truth of the potential of their children. I have 5 grown sons, adult sons. I can't even go into the privileged existence that my husband and I have with our 5 sons, the wives, the lives we live together. Priceless. I have friends that say to me regularly, I want your life. I'm so jealous. Oh, friends, it's not me. It's to the glory of God. It's because somehow I was able to believe the truth. Somehow he disrupted my life so that I could get the revelation. Friends, a revelation opens our eyes to see something we've never really seen before, motivating us to do something we've never even done before or even considered doing. Gotcha? Got it? Okay. Revelation captures your heart. And at that moment, nothing's different, but everything's changed. And during this season, I don't know how long it's going to be, if it's going to be 30 days or I don't know. Don't speculate. Don't go there. Live by faith, one day at a time. There's nothing back there for you, and there's nothing ahead for you right now. It's today. Seize today. Seize today. For some of you, nothing's different, but everything's changed. Everything's changed because the revelation is creeping in, and it's something that trickles down to every corner of your life. And pretty soon, you have those lenses on, and those lenses see, discern, comprehend, understand. Amram and Jochebed saw. They saw that Moses was no ordinary child. Now, one of my heroes in education his name was John Taylor Gatto. And he wrote a book called Dumbing Us Down. I highly recommend it. He worked as a public school teacher for, I believe, right around 30 years in the state of New York. He was New York State Teacher of the Year in 1 year. But he said this. He said, during my 26 years of teaching, I've come to believe that genius is an exceedingly common human quality, probably natural to most of us. The unlikeliest kids kept demonstrating to me at random moments so many of the hallmarks of human excellence: insight, wisdom, justice, resourcefulness, courage, originality. He was a public school teacher that went on to write books confronting the public system of education, warning people of the pitfalls, tearing it down as far as what it was doing to our culture and our nation, how it was stifling the learning of our children. It was crushing them. It was squeezing the life out of these precious children. He talks so much, and I would just urge you to get that book. It's an easy read. It's painful, but so good. A quick read, Dumbing Us Down. He passed in 2018. He's one of my heroes. He's got other books, but his eyes were opened. He understood. He had the revelation of the brilliance within every child. I don't care if they are ADHD labeled by the system. I don't care if they are Down syndrome. I don't care if they walk with a limp. I don't care if they are deaf, dumb, and blind. I don't care if they are irritating as all get out, annoying. I don't care if they're cross-eyed or walk with a limp. I want to say they are brilliant. Get the revelation. Get on your knees, because when you get the revelation, you'll do things you've never done before. You'll hide those kids, and you will nurture those kids, and you will develop them to their highest potential as much as lies within you by faith, by God's power.